Okay, we have here a 2009 Volkswagen Jetta with a 2.5 liter. Customer stopped in about a week ago and we were road testing it together. We were trying to reproduce a transmission problem that he was having, and he couldn't really demonstrate the transmission problem, but we did scan the computer system. There were no transmission codes, but there was a couple of engine-related codes. I don't remember what they were right now, but we'll scan it to find out. But at the time, the engine was running really, really rich. When I pulled it into the shop, it was kind of burning my eyes. I could smell it was rich. Didn't do any testing at that time. He's scheduled to bring it back, and today he brought it back. Let's start with scanning the computer system. Okay, here's the trouble codes that we have. P0113, intake air temperature sensor G42, and radiator fan V7 P1950, and 262 manifold barometric pressure sensor G71 F96 P0106 plausible signal. In the process of looking up the wiring schematic relating to these trouble codes, number one, I realized that the intake air temperature sensor and the map sensor are in the same assembly, so there's a good chance there's a wiring problem to it or that the sensor has failed. I found a tech bulletin. This is a Volkswagen service bulletin, and it recommends cleaning the throttle for these codes, or actually it's just for the 106 code. I do remember there's a problem with oil contamination in the sensor. Engine oil tends to build up in the bottom of the intake, and then when you turn left or right, it sloshes into the map sensor slash intake air temperature sensor and ruins it. So we need to pull that apart to take a look at whether the oil is pooling in there or not, and see if the map sensor has oil on it, because in all likelihood that's the repair that this is going to need. Just isn't much to see in here. The sensor that I'm after is down in this hole right here, but you just can't see it. So, okay, I want to point out that this brown wire on the map sensor, it goes up and directly over to the computer. Now, these two, actually three branches right here, all go to these other sensors, the secondary air pressure sensor, NOx sensor, and NOx sensor. So I'm a little concerned that maybe there might be a wiring problem, because there was a bundle of wires that had obviously been taped up, and it was big and fat and pregnant, like it was spliced together. But all three of the rest of the wires go directly to the computer with no splices or connections. Okay, so these color schematics are a little annoying because they don't let us know what is inside and how it breaks down into what. But knowing that there's a temperature sensor in there, we can pretty much say for sure that one of the wires will be a 5-volt reference, and that the second wire would be a signal return for that temp sensor. Probably it's a thermistor, and so that only needs 2 wires, but the other 2 wires would be for the map sensor. And I think I'm just going to address the temp sensor, because if the temp sensor is no good, then we're going to need to replace this part anyway. Let's pull the throttle body and get access to it and go from there. So I'm going to pull the cover, pull this tube out, pull this stuff out, pull the throttle body in order to get access to it. Okay, we have the sensor out, and very obviously there's oil on it. As we look into the hole there, there's oil inside there also. I don't know how well that's showing up, but you'll have to trust me on it. There's definitely oil puddled in the bottom there. I'm going to shove some paper towels in there to kind of clean the oil out of it. car, so that it has oil in it, the sensor's contaminated, but we have this wiring mess right here. So I'm very concerned that maybe a wire might be broke and it need a sensor. So I want to verify continuity between here and the computer to make sure there's no broken wires, like a wire broken in here, or a mouse chewed wire near the computer, or a mouse chewed wire somewhere between here and there. So we have 4 wires, they all go to the computer. If they have voltage on them, then that pretty much means the computer is either providing a reference voltage on there or putting a bias voltage on there for the sensor voltage. So we can check those real easy by just turning the key on and checking for voltage here. So we have 5.5, 5.0, 4.6, and this last one, see, it very clearly changes when I connect to it, and it's saying 0.009. Now, we might assume that that's a good ground, but we know that it goes to the computer, but it might be an open circuit. So the way I've decided to confirm that is the schematic showed that it also is connected to the secondary air sensor. So I'm just going to check continuity between the secondary air sensor and on the same wire, and if it has continuity there, I'm going to assume the wires are good, and that way we can conclusively say the sensor is going to solve our issue. I'm going to switch my meter to ohms, push the audible button, touch the terminals together, make it beep. I'm going to touch that brown wire on the map sensor, and then touch our wires here to verify we have a good connection. And obviously 2 ohms, so that means that wire is good also, so we can be fairly confident that replacing the sensor is going to correct our problem. There's the sensor. And I think what we'll do first is just plug it in and see if the scan tool data changes. Just reach in and turn the car on. There's our intake air temperatures reading, showing 21 degrees Celsius, which is much better than the negative 48 degrees. 21 degrees Celsius is reasonable for the temperature of the shop right now. So take a look at the intake manifold pressures at 970. Okay, on the throttle body, there is a little bit of carbon buildup here, and a lot of carbon buildup right here. So I'm not saying that's our problem, but it definitely needs to be addressed while we have this off. And the safest way to clean a throttle body is always to spray the cleaner on the rag and then clean it. If you ever clean these on the car, make sure you unplug them so your fingers are never in a position where they can be pinched, because these things do have some power to them. They could hurt your fingers pretty good, or maybe even cut them off. There's a nice clean throttle body. Okay, I've already cleared codes and then realized I didn't hit the record button, but as I was clearing the codes I noticed there were some throttle body codes because I'd had the ignition on while while the throttle body was unplugged. So then that reminded me that I needed to relearn the throttle body. So I have the ignition off right now because you have to have the ignition off in order to relearn the throttle body. And we'll go into basic settings, and we can use the drop down box on this, and down there is throttle body adaptation, throttle body alignment, and then we click on next, and we see the numbers start changing and doing some stuff, and it says run there, and then it says OK. Okay, we just finished road testing this, and we can take a look, see if the codes are reoccurring. No codes have reoccurred. We'll take a look at fuel trim. It's going negative, going positive. So idle adaptation hasn't changed much at all. Partial has changed just a little bit. So we should be good to go. I think we can call that a fix. Definitely not smelling any richness. If you want to financially contribute to the continued production of these videos, find the donate icon on my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. And don't forget to click the like and subscribe button.